I'll do a quick good morning to everybody. I'm Julie Piketty with Seek, the Schoharie Economic Enterprise Corporation. This is our fourth and final Digital Power Hour of the year. So after this, we will be sending out an evaluation to hear from our small businesses and other folks on what the programming should look like in 2025. But today, we're thrilled to close the years. We've got our power hitters. We got a power line up today. Look at Greg's giving me the side eye.
Yeah.
We're thrilled to have the Small Business Development Center with us. Paul with Primo Fahy is our go-to for the last 4 to 5 years. And then it appears we have a Snyder Group cathode ray with us as well as an expert in this AI space. We are recording the session so that we can show it after today and share with folks that aren't able to join us. But with that, we're thrilled that everybody's here and ready to rock and roll. Paul's going to lead the show with Emily at the helm over here, running. There she is. There she is, running the program for us. So, and thanks Paul Conroy as a Seek board member who's here showing his support for all technology related to business and economic development, how they are hand in glove. So thank you.
No, it's perfect. Thanks. Yeah, I'll tee it up and introduce Carolyn in just 1 second. So yeah, thank you, Julie. As Julie mentioned, this is the last of the Power Hour series of this calendar year for 2024, but something that Seek has really supported for the last number of years. And in particular, just kind of even expanding that thought, the digital resources, the investments in small businesses, I think have been really great. This series, a number of the grant programs, all of that designed, I think, to help grow some of the small businesses that are in Schoharie County, helping to increase that resilience that small businesses always need, whether it's pandemic or any of the other things that can happen. But also expanding Schoharie County's reach into the rest of the world. So I know there's a lot of frequent flyers that are here live, as well as folks that'll be watching this on demand. So, really applaud the work that Seek's been doing for this educational series, but all these resources. And this topic in particular, as Julie mentioned, was very much driven by this audience. The thing I love about it is, we don't just kind of come up with things we want to talk about, but really polling all of you, the folks watching live and on demand, to say, what's keeping you up at night? What can we help with? And in particular, and I think one of the themes that Carolyn will get into today is, these kind of tools that can help small businesses that don't have the, deep human and financial resources that they might be able to throw at some of their other, marketing endeavors and things like that. So, as Julie mentioned, this is being recorded. So for those of you joining us live, welcome. For those of you watching on demand, this is being recorded at the end of September in 2024. And I think that's important to mention because the nature of this conversation changes very rapidly. And I think as you'll hear from Carolyn, we've been living with AI and maybe didn't even know it for a number of years, but certainly there's been a tremendous acceleration. So if you're watching this on demand in the future, keep in mind some of the things we're talking about today may be changing pretty rapidly in the coming months or so. So with that, I will turn this over and introduce Carolyn Roth. She is affiliated and deeply connected with our friends at Cathode Ray, full service marketing communications firm, but also, a heavy portfolio in supporting small businesses. And I think to tee that up, Carolyn, why don't I invite you to, say a few words and kind of get us started. Feel free to share a screen, and I'll keep an eye on the chat. Folks, please feel free to drop questions in on the chat, or even if you're live and in person, let's ask in the moment, because 10 slides from now, we may forget what we were talking about. So I'll do what I can to facilitate the conversation as we go through. So Carolyn, help demystify AI and remind us all, or tell us all, I guess, how this really can be an amazing resource for small businesses that are, pulled in so many different directions.
Yes, well, it's nice to meet all of you. I just had to do a quick move of my office space because it was getting bad internet connection. So I don't have my second screen, so please interrupt me if there is a question because I can't see it. Biggest issue, I actually can't share. So could the host enable screen sharing for me so I can share a deck? There we go. Perfect. All right. Hold on one second. Okay. I think. All right. All right. So oops. Perfect. So can everybody see the introduction to AI? Deck, perfect. All right. Again, feel free to ask questions as we're going along. Today we're going to talk about what is AI, what is generative AI specifically, because that's really what's made AI come to the forefront in the past 2 years, how to get started and really next steps for you on making that happen. So what is AI? AI seems like, with all the talk of computers taking over, it seems like this, kind of scary thing out there. It's not. Really what AI is doing is just finding patterns in data. So these large language models have been trained on massive amounts of data, like the entire internet, that hundreds of thousands of books, YouTube, videos, all of these different things. And these LLMs are giving you answers based on patterns in data that it is finding. These large language models, which are like the examples are ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, we'll go into some of these as we go. They have been, there's different settings that they can set to allow how creative the answer is for you or how close to the question that you are looking for. You can kind of get different responses based on the prompts that you put into it. But really, this is all about finding patterns in data. As Paul mentioned, you are already using AI. So YouTube suggesting videos, that is AI. Gmail finishing your sentences. Meta and Facebook, the way that they are targeting you with ads, they've gotten really good with this. TikTok, famously, their For You page, it's kind of scary how good it gets at predicting what you are looking for next. Netflix recommending shows for you. Apple unlocking your phone by scanning your face. Amazon predicting your next purchase. All of these are already examples of how AI is being used every single day. But we are now able to use AI in business. So really you can use it in kind of any function of business. And rather than thinking about, okay, how can I use this in supply chain? We'll take a step back and talk about later about finding a use case and matching it. But it can be used across every part of your business. So marketing and sales, customer service with chatbots, finance, supply chain, talent management. It's being used a lot in HR today, and then cybersecurity. And why are people using this? So really increased efficiency and productivity. We'll talk about how hopefully you can find a use case of something very repetitive that you're doing every day. And maybe you can use AI to make that a little quicker for you. Innovation, there are things that you can be doing with personalization and customization to your customers, improved insights and forecasting if you're inputting data into them, and then cost savings. I like to not say it's just for cost savings. We can talk about that as well, but really that could be a potential benefit. But I know there's a lot of talk out there about, cutting jobs and things like that. I don't think that everyone's job is going to be eliminated and we're all going to be saving tons of money, but I do think there can be cost savings in situations. So challenges and risks. There are a lot of challenges and risks that we need to think through. And that's why it's really important that you're learning about the platforms and what they can do. Bias and mistakes. So as I mentioned, these LLMs are trained on specific data sets. So if there's only a certain type of data that went into the LLM, it's going to be biased if it doesn't have, a complete view into all sides of an issue. Mistakes. There are obviously a lot of mistakes. You've probably heard of some of them that are funnier. Google recently, when they put their started having the AI in the Google search window, I think they famously were telling people to put glue into pizza when you were making it. And they've gone back and they've been fixing it, but there's definitely mistakes that happen with these. Misuse. I have some examples on the next page. Data privacy, legal and regulatory challenges. I think this is going to be huge moving forward. There's already a lot going on about what can be trained on, how these can be used, what's legal, people's privacy, their data. And then staying current. So much changes in AI, literally daily and weekly, so it's hard to stay up on it. I put a few examples here. The New York Times has been suing OpenAI and Microsoft over copyrighted work. So there's a lot of work going on right now with publishers to figure out how do they get compensated, what is fair using their articles and their work. There have been a few legal cases where ChatGPT has been used and they've been citing bogus cases and people have used it. Hopefully, lawyers know not to use that now or to be checking their data, but that has come up several times. You may have heard that there was a political consultant who was using AI to make fake Biden calls, telling people not to go out and vote. And then just on like a daily day-to-day use, you could put in a prompt and get some pretty strange things. Sometimes this was an image that I got back when I think asked it to have someone on a couch watching TV and they have the person sitting backwards on a couch with like a sky behind it. So you can get some kind of odd things out of them as well. That's obvious, but sometimes with text, you really need to understand what they're giving back to you so you're not putting it back out into the world incorrectly. So there are three pieces to this. Parts of AI. So there's language, vision, and prediction. So language is AI that can understand and create human language. And the examples of these are the large LLMs, which are large language models that you may have heard of so far, which is like ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude. There are chatbots that are answering questions online, apps that are translating languages. Vision. So this is AI that can see and understand images and videos. Examples, facial recognition to unlock your phone, apps that are identifying objects and photos. There's a lot going on with this. You may have seen some previews of, you're going to be able to walk around your house and just point your phone around and it will know the whole world in front of you. There have been demos of going through your whole house and then saying, I can't find my keys. Did you see it in any of the videos? So it's going to be pretty advanced. And then prediction. So it's predicting what might happen based on different data. So there are different types of artificial intelligence. And so, as I mentioned, generative AI, really ChatGPT put it on the map for all of us to start talking about it. It is a type of AI that can create new content like images, text, music, based on learning from existing data. There's analytical AI, and that's analyzing data to identify patterns, make predictions, provide insights. There's things that you can already do with ChatGPT to just take some of your data. We can talk about that too, upload it, and then get an analysis. You can do that in Claude, you can do it in ChatGPT. I guess I'll just stop here and also say that we always want to be careful about the data that we're feeding into these large language models. With a free version, they can be using your data to train. So that's something you want to keep in your mind. On a paid version, if you're working on behalf of a client, you might want to scrub all of their names. So just different security precautions that you want to think about between your brand and how you're using the platform, and really dig into how they're using your data and what is being shared. Reactive AI. So this is AI that can respond to an input or a situation without using a past experience. So the example here is like a chess playing program. You're making a step and then it is making a step back. Autonomous AI. So the example of here is self-driving cars navigating traffic. So it is operating independently without human guidance. And then there's cognitive AI. So this is mimicking human thought process. An example here is a chatbot that is very intelligent and can interpret and respond to user inquiries without you even knowing that is a chatbot. So what is generative AI? We'll spend some time talking through this because this is really where you can get some experience immediately and what you could actually start using today. So this was actually made by Midjourney, which is a platform that creates images. And it kind of just shows you how the whole process is working. So there is a database there. You are, number 2, inputting a prompt. And then number 3, it is generating the content for you. And that's how generative AI works across images, video, text, and audio. So examples of generative AI, I put a few of the text programs that you can test out, and I can send this deck over to everyone at the end, but ChatGPT and Claude are really 2 that I would highly recommend checking out. There's Google Gemini, Meta. When I'm doing things, I'm typically putting them into, I usually go to ChatGPT or Claude or kind of my go-tos, and I will put, a prompt into both of them and see which one I like better. You'll start to get a feel for what you like, but just kind of examples of things that you can put in there. Generate 5 creative concepts for a social media campaign promoting, and then put in your product. Or you can even say, can you conduct a competitor analysis for this in this market? Really big help in SEO. So you could say, list the top 20 SEO keywords. These are really starting points. You can really dive into this. I mean, you can be inputting your SEO data. You can put in your keywords. You can ask it for, find me additional keywords, things like that. You can get really deep into this, but this is a good place of where you can just start getting started. Examples of subject lines and email content for a holiday promotional campaign. Rewrite product descriptions for me. I included some more as we go through this. One text platform that I will kind of stop and chat about. So ChatGPT and Claude, I don't know if you've tested them out, but you will put an input in, and I don't know if, let me see if you guys, I'm sharing my screen, so maybe you'll be able to see. If I swap over, can you guys see ChatGPT right now? Are you still on? Yeah, okay. So if you're not familiar, you will type in, this is just examples of things you can do. Create a chart based on my data. So you can upload, you can attach a file right here, and then you can ask it to create, I don't have one here, but a chart based on my data. Give me a fun fact about the Roman Empire. So we'll just click on that because it's there. It'll come out and it'll give us this standard answer. If you go to Perplexity, which is another platform, it will give you a list of sources of how it got it. So I'm just going to click here and say vegetables currently in season to make this quick. And it will give you all of the sources. So if you are looking for to be very accurate, and you are, you can't, it's harder to check your facts in ChatGPT because they're not telling you where they came up with all of these answers. If you go here into Perplexity, you can actually click on it and see, oh, where did this come from? You could click up to the article. So it's a pretty cool platform that you should definitely check out if you haven't. So I did just put 2 examples in, but we just went there, so we can keep going. And then image and video. So there's a lot going on here. I put examples on the side over there as well. Pretty cool if you just play around in OpenAI and ask it to create. My kids do a ton of coloring pages and they come up with really absurd pictures that you would never think of. I feel like the Easter Bunny and Santa Claus have done a lot of weird things, like lunches and gone to the playground and things like that. There can just be pictures. You can ask them for a coloring picture, just kind of different things to start playing around with. And that's something I'll talk about in a minute, is just start getting familiar with these. Start using it for yourself. Start using it with your kids. Like, come up with ideas. The more that you're playing with all these programs, the more it's going to just feel like a part of your day to day, and will start sparking other things like, I wonder if I can use it for this. But here in video or in images, I definitely encourage you to go into OpenAI, which is ChatGPT. They have DALL-E, and just put something in, like just design an Instagram post image promoting a winter sale. Generate a LinkedIn post visual highlighting a corporate event. You're going to see there's some limitations. Text is still not great on these. They're getting better, but definitely check it out. There are some cool video. I'm actually going to I have an example here of audio. So there is a program called Suno. Anything you want. And I said, just today's September 23rd. This morning I said, just make us a song about September 23rd. And in a few minutes, it had created a song for us. Here, let's see if you can hear that.
September's here again, my friend. Leaves are turning, summer's end. Crisp air whispers in the breeze. Golden moments drifting free. Waking up to morning light. Days get shorter night by night. Sweaters out and boots are worn. Autumn colors being born. Waking up to morning
So anyways,
light.
you guys could all hear that, right? I did do share sound. Okay. You can put in anything and it will literally create a song for you in a matter of seconds. I literally put in for a few seconds, create a song about September 23rd. You can change the different, the type that it is. So rhythmic pop, pop piano driven, there's tons of different options there. In terms of video, there is a lot coming with video. This is OpenAI Sora, which actually isn't released right now. However, just to give you an example of some of the things they put down, you can see that they just put in a prompt of a text of a stylish woman walking down a Tokyo street filled with warm, glowing neon and animated city signage. You can see, but it's, very realistic. So there's lots of examples here. This is, I think, an example of historical footage of California during the gold rush, but this is completely AI generated. And then going more towards a business use, there's a program called Descript. And if you are making videos, there's so many cool things that you can do with this. For example, you can post your video. You can go in and edit the text directly. And let's say you said something that sounded weird, or you said an and you don't want it in there. You can literally just go into the text and you can edit it there. You can delete it out. You can add in a word that you missed. There's just a lot of different things that you can do with these video platforms now that make it super easy to edit. There's also, let's say that you had an hour-long conference and you want snippets of it for social media. There are platforms that will go in, it will automatically detect like 5 different snippets within your video and help you just create snackable content for social media. So there's a lot that you can get into with video. We just walked through all of those. This is Adobe Firefly. You can go in there and play. A lot of these you can just go in and start testing for free. There'll be paid versions once you have exceeded a certain limit or you want to do more. But this is just a girl playing guitar by a campfire and people sitting around the campfire, and you can see how realistic the people look. Again, there's kind of some very comical issues that have come up with images. So just check them. Like you might see somebody has like 9 fingers, or there's like something weird coming out of their head. Just definitely check them. But some of them can be very realistic. So how can you get started with AI? So as I mentioned, just get in the habit of using it, like use it in your personal life. Just start thinking through. This is an example on the far left. I took a picture. I have 3 boys and my husband and a boy dog. So I don't always trust them if I'm asking them if an outfit matched. So I took a picture of myself and put it into ChatGPT and asked if it matched. And it said yes. And I said, what kind of shoes should I wear with it? And it told me, and I said, jewelry. So you can put things in like that. The second one is Allie K. Miller. I would highly recommend following her on LinkedIn. She worked at Amazon in AI. She is a huge presence in the AI space, and she gives a lot of like actionable ways to use it. But that example there on ChatGPT, she was walking through Boston and she saw a statue and she just spoke into ChatGPT and said, I'm standing in front of X, like, can you give me information? And it just gave her a whole kind of little description of that statue is blah, 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 and it is for this and that. So it's like a little walking tour. I had some flowers that had died. So I asked, what is this? I asked why they died. You may have seen some of these examples of fridges. They're pretty cool. There are pictures here of people take photos of their refrigerator and they say, tell me something I can make out of these ingredients. And it will come up with like a recipe. You can say, give me 5 recipes, or say, I don't want to have chicken tonight. And it will keep giving you different ideas. You could also use this. I've seen people for organizing things, like taking a picture of a closet and being like, help me, how can I fix this? And then, as I mentioned, SEO, but we'll talk on the next slide more about business. So again, Allie K. Miller. So she says, even if your company does not adopt AI, your customers still will. So even if you ban AI, you cannot avoid having an AI strategy. And this is a little farther down the line, but the point is, the more you integrate AI into your core operations, the more value you're likely to extract. So we're not all going to go today and start putting AI everywhere, but the more you start using it now, the more value you're going to find and the more places you're going to be able to add it in as you go. So just start learning today, start seeing if we'll talk about this in a minute, but repetitive things where you can add it in, and then maybe it'll spark the next thing, and maybe you'll be able to go on with a bigger business problem, but really just start integrating it in small ways now. So how can you start using it? So as I mentioned, number one, just start playing around, start getting familiar with these platforms, start learning them, understanding some of these practical applications, start thinking through things that you are doing. Like, are you using video? Would there be an easier way to help you with that? Are you writing emails once a week that are really hard to generate ideas for? Or are you looking for a content calendar? Like, what are some of those things? And we can start to put that into a use case model. So the Marketing AI Institute defined these 2 use case models and the problem-based models. And I really like them because it gives you a really clear way to look at this. So number one, just go play. Then we start looking at a use case model. So this is a quick win pilot project. I'll go to the next one and we'll kind of walk through that. So find something. Is it data driven? Is it repetitive? Is it making a prediction? Like, I would say, just start thinking about your day. And are you writing emails over and over? Is there a way that you can use AI to take that off of your plate? Are you every week sitting down trying to think of like hashtags, or are you trying to think of a LinkedIn post like multiple times? Try and think through those things that you're doing or your team is doing repetitively. Write them down and then maybe just start going through them. A use case model, I would say, should be 3 months long. Give yourself a clear KPI. So, I want to make sure that, at the end of these 3 months, this has saved me X amount of time. Or if it's a money thing, I want to know that we've saved this. Just make sure it's very clear, so you're not just kind of holding on to a platform if you're paying for it and you're not really sure and you're continuing on. Because if it's not helping, you should not be continuing to use it. As you go down the line, you can go into a problem-based model. And this is kind of a larger problem for your organization. So a bigger business challenge. So like we want to generate more or better leads, or we want to grow our audience. These are going to be bigger projects. They're going to involve more resources, potentially more people or another platform. And it's something that you're really going to want to dive into. So just kind of some thought starters. I know there's kind of a variety of different businesses here, but just ideas that maybe everybody could implement. There's 2 pages of these that you'll have there, but generating copy for social media, creating product descriptions, helping you, if you're listing a house, coming up with some of the copy for that, email newsletters to customers. One that I think is cool is composing responses to customer reviews, drafting press releases, creating simple blog post outlines, or creating a list of, one that's pretty simple here is like, I want to have 6 months worth of blog post topics ready to go. Like, can you generate these? And that's the kind of things that you can put in. You can be doing things like writing compelling copy for your About Us page on your website, developing a list of engaging questions for customer surveys, create customer personas based on your data and target audience. And on the next page, we'll talk about this, but you're going to want to feed any of these that you are doing, you're going to want to be as specific as possible. So create a simple customer persona based on X, and target audience. You're going to want to outline what those target audiences are. So we'll go to that here. Here are just some tips that are pretty quick on writing your prompts. So be clear and specific. So instead of saying something like, how can I improve my business? You want to ask, what are 3 actionable strategies to increase customer retention in, you then put in your business. Provide context. So draft an email to inform customers about a new loyalty program launching next month. So instead of just saying draft an email about, something, you want to be specific. Defining your desired output definitely helps. So if you are looking for several ideas, say generate a list of 5 creative social media posts with engaging captions and relevant hashtags. Use open-ended prompts for creativity. So what are some innovative ways to market a new, and then input your product or, a house or whatever this is. Iterate and refine. So if the initial response isn't what you expected, refine your prompt. Can you rephrase that with a more formal tone? I will frequently say, can you rephrase that and be more casual? Or I will put an example of an email that I have previously written and said, can you follow this tone? Another thing to kind of input here is I would create an Excel sheet and start saving prompts that you are using frequently so that you are not having to come up with this over and over again. If it's something that you're using frequently, save yourself the time. And if you get an output you like, just save it in an Excel so that you can go copy and paste it next time. Leverage AI strengths. So use AI for tasks like generating lists and outlining processes, summarize information. It can do a great job at summarizing information. So I've put in like huge documents and asked it to read it. There's tips on that too, so that it's, actually reading the whole document and not just the beginning and the end. But you can put in financial reports. You can put in long articles that you don't have time to read. There's a lot of AI information out there. And in the morning, sometimes I'll drop in long, articles and just say, please read this from start to finish and give me the top 5, relevant points or something, along those lines, or brainstorm ideas with it. So ask it, I need to do X, like, can you help me brainstorm ideas? Avoid ambiguity. So instead of just give me ideas for marketing, suggest 5 low budget marketing strategies for a local coffee shop. Incorporate examples. So as I mentioned, I like to include past examples of things I've done. So write a blog introduction similar to this style, and then give them your other blog. Like, you want them to be in your tone and you don't want it to sound like somebody else. And then set constraints when necessary. So generate a list of 5 marketing ideas with a budget under $500. And talk back to it. So if it gives you something that is so bizarre, say like, that was not, that is not what I'm looking for, and specify, I asked for $500, like, please revise. So you can continue to kind of have conversations with it. And so my tips for you all as you kind of keep going or starting the AI journey is just continue to educate yourself and your team. So there's a lot of resources out there, a few that I like. The Marketing AI Institute, they have a podcast. It's actually called the Artificial Intelligence Show now. It's released once a week. It is beyond marketing at this point, so they changed it to the Artificial Intelligence Show. It is 1 hour and it gives you all the top information and their take on it. I find it like awesome, so I would definitely recommend that. There's a few people on LinkedIn to follow. Allie K. Miller is really trying to make it super approachable to everybody, and she gives a lot of examples on how she uses it in her day-to-day life and then in business, so I recommend her. There are email newsletters. One that I like is the Neuron. So, I also feel like I'm the type of person who signs up for so many e-newsletters and then I'm so overwhelmed in the morning. So if you're going to choose one, I would say the Neuron. There's one called Ben's Bites as well that I would recommend, and they come up with they do a lot more of giving use cases of like how they are using content or creating content with it. The Neuron is really giving you the top highlights. Create an AI council, even if that's just you. Start thinking about how you're developing policies and practices at your job, at your company, and consider the near-term and long-term impact of AI on your company. Develop AI responsible principles and generative AI policies. So if that's something that is important, if you own an agency or your clients are going to be wondering, how are you using AI? Like, is it something that matters in your industry? Yes, no. If so, I would develop these AI responsible principles to outline so your customers know how you're using AI. And then experiment. So just start testing AI and start thinking of how you can utilize it in your life. And that is it. Are there any questions?
Any questions from the 287 room? I couldn't tell if I heard something in there.
So Caroline, I spent some time, this is Paul Conroy, I'm a board member here at Seek.
Hi.
I spent most of my career at large multinational corporations. Are they getting on board with this technology? And what are the top 2 ways they're using this?
Yes, there's actually a lot of large corporations who are introducing it. I think a lot of them are learning how to use it. And I think it's still a learning journey for them as well. A lot of them are using it for processes internally. So, making it easier for, I'm trying to think if it's Fidelity right now, or I'll have to pull up, but I can follow up with it. They are using it as internal training documents for all of the brokers in their company so that they can find information quicker rather than having to, go back and start asking internally. So I've seen a lot of examples of it helping internally. At my company, I work at Basis Technologies right now. We have built out an AI platform that allows us to find information on our platform easier rather than having to go internally. So a lot of like customer service, but even internal for the company, a lot of use cases in that. I think that there's a lot of companies kind of testing their feet in it. To my point that you're using AI already, especially in advertising. If you are running Facebook, if you are running Google, you are already using AI because those platforms are using AI and they are optimizing. So it's a lot of testing and learning. I don't think anybody has it down. There's a lot of, there's been a lot of talk. There was a company who, I think it was Morgan Stanley, they gave ChatGPT to the entire company and then decided it was not helpful at all. But with that, that kind of brings me to my other point of education. Like, you can't just give people ChatGPT and just say the whole company has this now, like, have fun. People don't know how to use it. So you need to keep encouraging them. You need to show them and I think that that's something, there's a lot of learnings that are coming out of it. And I don't think that all the large companies have this down yet either.
Right, great, thank you.
Carolyn, if you were going to give a small business one thing to focus on, you know, what one AI tool or maybe what one task might you suggest they start with, you know, just to focus on, get started?
I would say ChatGPT. I would say just go in there and find a use case for it. So I don't know if everybody's doing content, or if if you're doing customer reviews, I would find one thing in your business that you need help with writing on and just do that in ChatGPT and see how that helps you. And I would make it, yes, something text-based, something you're doing a lot to kind of just get your feet in there. I think I really like Claude as well, but I think ChatGPT is a good starting point because they also have images that you can do in there and it's kind of a little easier.
I have a question
And
when it comes, sorry to whomever, when it comes to creating images on AI, does that run into any, like if you're creating an image for content, kind of like the guy on the couch watching the TV backwards, would that run into any legal issues if you were to market that and push that as your business?
So right now, no, but that's what I'm saying. It's like the Wild West of all of this on what. No, you can use those images now if you want. You'll see if you go into ChatGPT now, like my kids have asked for like Godzilla fighting something, and it will come back and say like, we don't have the rights to draw that image. So they are, and that's kind of something newer that I've seen recently. So they're putting some of that in place. But right now, if you type something in there and you get a logo, like you can use that logo, or you could use that image on social media.
Can I build on that just a little bit?
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Greg Shanice, by the way. I work for the Small Business Development Center. I run all of our AI programs for the center, as well as lead the AI working group for the country. From a legal perspective, especially copyright, if you make something in AI, a book, a blog post, or whatever, it's owned by nobody, because the copyright law is about human-made things, not machine-made things. That includes logos. So yeah, you can use it, but you don't own it unless you make significant modifications to it. And what is significant modifications? Shrug. That's a legal question. That's in the ether. So understand that if you're going to make something in AI and try to claim it as yours, unless you changed it in some way, you don't own that. Nobody does.
Wow. That's
So
interesting.
know that. Sorry.
no,
Good
that's
point.
great. And
It's a good point.
And Greg, let's go down that road a little bit more.
Sure.
You know, as small businesses are looking to use this as a time saver, use this to create content they might not otherwise have the resources for, you know, what are those bits of advice that you would suggest? You know, where are the landmines that they should be aware of as they're getting started?
Yeah, when I talk about this from a small business perspective, that's always one that I hit on, is that legal piece of kind of like what Carolyn said. It's the Wild West. There's nothing really that you can and can't do. There's no legal organization that Congress has not passed anything yet that is really tamping down what AI is. There is the White House AI Bill of Rights that you can go on, but those are just guidelines and suggestions of what people should reasonably expect when they're utilizing AI. But that the copyright one's a big one that I talk about a lot. The other one is always make sure that there's a human in the loop. There should always be somebody who's monitoring what is going into the AI and what it's producing on the other end, because it can have hallucinations, it can make stuff up, it could not be accurate, it could not be in the tone that you want. You can't just copy it and put it wherever you're placing and thinking, okay, we're all done. It's got to be somebody monitoring that. And the other thing is, if you're going to use it as a large organization with multiple people using it, well, is everybody getting an account? Is one person getting an account that you're all going to be utilizing? There's cost associations with this. Like if you're using the free version, that's fine. But if you're also using the paid version, well, that's $20 per user per month. That can go up. That starts looking at a cost implication. So who's utilizing it? What are the rules? Do you have guardrails in place internally? Because they don't exist externally.
So an add-on to that, are businesses putting in their own guidelines in terms of accountability?
They
for this?
should.
I mean, I would think so. I would think
Yes.
Yeah, that's, we encourage it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and that's like those generative AI policies, like what you stand for, what the people in your company can do with these platforms. Like you really need to outline that and make sure that everyone's aware of how they're allowed to use it, what data is going into it, what the company's comfortable with.
I would imagine they would add something like to the employee manuals, that
Yeah.
there's some accountability for employees.
Sure.
Um,
Because again, there's no overarching body saying, hey, these are the rules, this is what you got to do. So it becomes an internal discussion. Sometimes it becomes an ethical discussion.
Right.
Is it okay to use this stuff? Do you have to disclose this to somebody that you
morality,
use it?
Ethics, and all of that.
The real answer is no. You don't have to. Should you? Probably. To let people know. I think you're going to start seeing in signatures, email signatures, people start saying assisted using AI, because I use it to write emails all the time, because I don't have the brain space for it all the time. So I think you're going to see more and more people disclosing that they're using AI for different this, that, and the other. And on the other side, you'll start to see organizations saying either you need to disclose it or don't use it. But then it's, well, how are they proving that you use it or not? Because those programs are not also not fantastic when it comes to checking whether something is AI or not.
Yeah, I was gonna say that at the agency that I work at, we get questions now from a lot of clients that come in like on an RFP that say, will you be using generative AI on our campaign?
Sure.
Explain how you are using it.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah,
going to
and
become the
just to-
norm. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. And just to build on that, I have a quick screen share. So the Albany Times-Union, the newspaper of record pretty much for the capital region, just recently started putting out their use of AI. So as I go to see the news as reported by the Times-Union for the capital region, they've created here's how we use it. It assists us in the assembly of content. We use it for grammar and style editing, but an editor, essentially, they're basically saying, yeah, we're going to use it for a few different ways, but everything's going to be fact-checked and reviewed by the reporters and editors. So it's interesting that it's even crept its way up into the media, and they're also trying to be a little bit transparent about it as they're going through that process too.
Well, I think you've seen people getting fired because they've been doing it.
Yeah.
Where people have said, hey, I have this article, it was written by X person who doesn't actually exist, but then there's this article. That's not illegal. It might not be ethically okay,
Right.
but who's calling you out? Does it? And again, doesn't matter. That's the question. It's kind of scary, right? Yeah.
Kind of
I think it's a
Well,
good
it's-
time to be an AI lawyer, honly.
Well, there's no precedent yet.
For sure.
Nobody's
Yeah.
figured it out. So like,
There'll be a lot
I
of
sat on a
cases.
panel. Yeah, I sat on a panel about 4 months ago. We were talking about international business and how AI is going to affect that. And it was myself, another individual who owned a business, and then a lawyer on the other side of me. And he was trying to figure all this out. That's where I learned the stuff about the copyright laws and the AI Bill of Rights and all that, because that's the stuff he's going on. So if the lawyer is looking at it that way, well, we all need to start thinking about this, because right now we can do whatever. So, but eventually that'll change. Just don't know when. And I don't know how, because I don't think Congress can move fast enough to keep up with the rate of AI.
Yeah.
Because as soon as they implement a rule, someone's going to find a way to get around it.
Other thoughts or questions?
You mentioned that there was a tiered that you can pay $20 a month.
Yeah.
Why would you do that?
So if you use the free versions of AI, there's a lot of restrictions depending on the different program you're going to use. Sometimes it's the amount of times that you can put in an inquiry or refine something or something like that. Sometimes it's how deep down the rabbit hole it goes in trying to find information for you. So the date might not be as up to date as others. It might not just have the ability to do as deep an analysis. The other thing is if I go to that paid model, I have the ability to turn off that sharing to the hive mind of AI to teach itself. So information that I put into it is a little bit more protected than if I just say, here we go, here's the free version. And now it's feeding that LLM and teaching it my data. And also it's the internet. I don't always trust the internet. So whenever I have a client who is thinking about doing like a financial analysis through ChatGPT or Claude, I always ask them, hey, are you using a paid version? And they usually say no. So I'm like, please scrub all your personal information from that. And I don't just mean black it out. I mean, get rid of it. Do not upload that into it because now potentially you're opening yourself up. I have a client who put their 2023 taxes into it without talking to me first. They went on and they were so proud of themselves. They're like, oh, look at all my insights. I go, that's awesome. How'd you get that? Like, oh, I put my taxes into it. I go, you did what? They're like, I put my full taxes into it. And look at all these. I'm like, okay, well, here's all the bad things you just did. So, I mean, that's where that $20 a month comes into play, is there's a little bit more protection and more deeper analytics that it can give you and more information it can derive.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I was gonna say, I think that's also where education for employees comes in,
Yeah.
because the real thing here is if you're in a company with, 100 people, you can't really stop them. Like, people are probably uploading data into free
Yeah.
versions and maybe not even realizing or not caring. So, there is a lot of risk and liability there, but I think that's why you just need to make sure everybody knows. You can never, ever, obviously gonna stop them.
The guardrails are important, and then monitoring. Like I started telling clients that have been using it for a while, I go, how are you making sure that the data that's coming out is still the same level of what you started with? Because as well as it's learning from the LLM and the different things that you teach it, it's also learning you. It's going to interact with you the way you want it to be interacted with. So if you put different biases and leans and start asking it pointed questions and it starts generating content with that, it's going to continue to do that because it wants to do a good job for you. So like I've had people, what I've started to tell them is set a baseline. You have a prompt and I feed it into whatever AI I'm using, and here's what it generated for me. In 6 months, I'll do the same exact prompt and see what it generates. Similar, because it won't be the same, but is it similar enough to that first one that I'm like, okay, we're still good? Or are there now different things that it's producing that could be hallucinations, that it could be a bias, that it could be a lean that I don't want into it? And then it's getting rid of that so that you're still talking in your tone on how you want to present yourself rather than what the AI is envisioning that you are supposed to be positioning yourself.
Yeah, and I
As a
think
former
that's.
corporate executive,
Sorry,
I
you
look
go.
at this, is this threat or is this, an opportunity? And it of course is both.
Yeah.
And I think, I guess my question is there a boot camp for executives or CEOs where they can really have a fundamental understanding of what they're dealing with here and how to benefit, but also how to protect their employees in the corporation? Is there such a place?
There's definitely different, like education sessions, and I don't know, we could certainly, Greg, talk about the ones you know of and the ones that I know of.
Yeah.
I do know of like Ali K. Miller, the Marketing AI Institute.
Right.
I don't know if they're necessarily geared specifically to CEOs, so there might be a more tailored
Yeah.
one, but there definitely is a lot of learning out there if you're interested in
Yeah.
doing it.
Yeah, there's, in terms of like the grand scale of the internet, there's tons of things you can go learn. There's definitely workshops that people are doing across the country. Locally, I literally just got back from doing a roadshow across the state on teaching our advisors on how to educate using AI, and then the small businesses in their areas of how to utilize it. So I've been asked to stop until after the holidays, but we're going to be doing more. So we, about 2 weeks ago now, it was announced that Google has actually come to the SBDC and is supporting us for AI training. So they're giving us some funding to be able to create programming to educate the small business community as well as, you know, CEOs. And what we're going to be doing, I actually wrote our guidelines last week. We're going to be creating our own New York AI working group through the SBDC, working with all of our different 19 other centers across the state to kind of create some training modules and education outlets that we can kind of help New York kind of figure this out. Because there's the national stuff, but New York is New York. And, you know, what works in, let's say, Alaska might not work here. So we're going to learn best practices from everybody else that's been doing this and bring it home.
Right.
And kind of help that kind of education piece from all levels. So CEO, C-suite level to boots on the ground and everything in between. We want to make sure that everybody feels comfortable trying to figure out what this is, because it's not going away. And this is the worst it's ever going to be. It's only going to get better, faster, stronger. So we need to be ahead of that. And we want to help the small business community try to stay up to date as much as possible. So there will be some coming from us.
Okay.
Well, thank you, everybody. I know just for the sake of the live webinar portion of this, we're inside of a couple minutes. So I want to thank both Greg and Carolyn for, you know, a really fascinating conversation. It's very much the Wild West. It reminds me of 2004, 5, you know, those early days of social media. And here we are 20 years later, and there's still no FCC regulations. I can't start an AM radio station without getting a fine, and yet look at all I can do everywhere else in terms of the media. So I'll pause for a second. I'm not sure, Julie or Gabby, if you guys have any thoughts or plugs that you want to make on upcoming events or other things.
Hi, I'm Gabby. I didn't fully introduce myself. I don't really have anything to mention, but I definitely have some takeaways, and I'm so thankful that everybody came. I like the just sitting down for everyone to sit and make a list about those use cases and the problem-based cases that you could use AI for. I think that's a huge takeaway for all of us and all of our small businesses, to just sit down, think about it, and then start to have a list to start inputting into those mystical AI machines. So thank you.
Yeah, this is great. We'll certainly keep in touch with everybody. If you're watching live or even on demand, you know, I know Seek will continue to reach out with surveys and polls and ask about upcoming content for future presentations. Again, all the things we can do to help small businesses grow, increase their digital resilience, and make a stronger community for us all. So thank you, Seek, for hosting all of this as usual.
Thank you very much.
And thank you.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you
And thank you,
all.
Greg and Carolyn.
Thank you. Thank you.